Chapter 9 Meditation on Death Maranasati Explanation and Instruction. This evening we are going to reflect on death. It is another type of reflective meditation practiced with mindfulness meditation. This is the last of the 4 supportive meditations we shall introduce in this retreat. Death is a subject which many people prefer not to talk about, especially in other cultures and religions. Many regard discussion about death as ill-omened, unpleasant, and luckless. Death, as the darkest side of life, is considered as an inappropriate subject for conversation. People tend to cover their awareness of the reality of death with enormous abstract imaginings and theories. They actually trying to suppress that reality in their conscious mind. The mind is thus deceived by intellect. Deception gradually becomes perception. This perception of death, however, seems to have achieved general acceptance. However, the Buddha's way of thinking is different, and in this case even against the mainstream. The Buddha says, death is another object for meditation. We should recognize, accept, and try to understand death. The Buddha taught his disciples that in order to uproot mental defilement and thereby achieve peace, one should stay vigilant and develop a sharp mindfulness of death. Can we run away from death? Certainly not. It is an inevitable process we all have to go through. People do not like to talk about it because they fear death. This is true of anybody. Some people also think that talking about death may bring ill fate and could destine them for ruin. The Buddha, however, said that the fear of death arises when there is no insight into death. If you do not talk about it, you will not understand it. That is why this meditation on death is meaningful and worthwhile, however fearful it may sound. This Buddhist approach of acceptance is worth sympathized, indeed accepted in modern psychotherapy. Fear of death. Imagine this room with no light and in silence darkness. If you come across a wire in the dark, you may think that it's a snake, and you will be very frightened. That is because you cannot see what is really there. If you come across a cat, you may think that it's a ghost. You cannot see what exactly there. You just speculate on the sound of the cat's movements and create fear within yourself. Not seeing things as they are makes you scared. It's oppressive to be in the dark because darkness prevents us from seeing many things. Fear, however, is automatically expelled when the light comes. What we need is light that helps us to see a wire as wire, and to make sure that it's not a snake. This is also true even when it comes to matters like death. What we have to do is to understand it, to know what it's like, what fear of death is like. Understanding is likened to light. Many religions throughout the ages have tried to solve the mystery of death and of the fear that is necessarily linked to death. They come up with various philosophies as to what death is in order to dispel fear of death in the minds of the people. There is always consciously or unconsciously a threat of death. No matter how you ignore it, this is a fact of life. The Buddha said that we have to have courage to analyze it and reflect upon it. That courage comes through mindfulness. Many religions try to come up with what they think are solutions to solve this psychological problem facing people who live in fear of death. In pre-Buddhist times in India, people said that when someone died, it was just like someone changing clothes, as they did every day. In the same way, the permanent soul was said to keep changing its body from one to another. They believed in rebirth because the idea of rebirth existed before the Buddha's time. This is emphasized in the early scriptures like Upanishads. They said that when someone dies and the soul goes to another body, cycle of birth samsara goes on. So again, the idea of samsara was already there. They said the liberation or moksha comes about when the individual soul, each and everybody is considered to have this individual soul, is reunited with the universal soul, which is called Atman, or the everlasting soul. When these two souls merge together, there is no longer an individual soul or a universal soul. There is only one, according to the Upanishad. When you see two, you are under an illusion. This is a part of their effort to dispel the fear of death. You have nothing to fear because you are one step closer to becoming reunited with the universal soul, which is everlasting. People are usually afraid of impermanence, of cessation, of disappearance, of going away. Therefore, they try to come up with an idea of something that is everlasting. Although people are taught to hold on to these ideas based on a belief in something everlasting, still fear doesn't go away. In all the Abrahamic religions like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, there is one rebirth after death, which is supposed to be after the day of judgment, when one will be reunited with God, the Creator, who will welcome the death into an immortal state. I see this again as an attempt to dispel fear of death. Fear is real. Fear in you, fear in me, fear in everyone in the street regarding death is very real. All these philosophies are formulated with one aim: to lessen the fear of the experience of death. At times, all the theories may give people a sense of security in life, but unfortunately, they could do very little to help one in the face of actual death. I think the actual problem is not death itself, but the fear of death. What we are going to do today is to discuss the fear of death rather than death itself. Imagine we have to live under the shade of the fear of death throughout our life. How can we enjoy our life? Can there be real peace of mind under the shade of death? Before death actually comes, one is already defeated by the fear of it. Fear of death is a fear of future that results in our not being able to live fully at the present moment. We fear and are worried that we are going to lose what we have, unable to accept that things are impermanent. It hurts and discourages one to think that we have to leave all hard-earned wealth and reputation and go. The future always seems something uncertain for human beings. Indeed, uncertainty is the hallmark of life after death. Buddhism says that without fully accepting the uncertainties associated with death, life never feels secure. Life is, of course, naturally insecure. However, it is possible to feel secure amid the insecure, provided we develop our mind dealing with the fear of death here and now, when we still have a lot of time to live. The Buddhist approach to death. As well as various techniques of meditation, including vipassana, there are techniques in Buddhism that help to lessen fear of death, such as karma and rebirth. Here, however, we are approaching the problem of fear of death from vipassana meditation point of view. In the vipassana meditation, one of the principles is to start looking at things from the best known point, to progress to the less known. What is best known here is fear. It exists in you, in me, in every one of us. Therefore, we have to start tackling this fear. We do not start from the unknown, which is life after death, and all the mystery connected to it. It is unknown. How can we start with that? What I'm trying to say is that despite all these theoretical concepts, including those in Buddhism, the idea of heaven, the idea of Brahma Loka, the idea of being born as a human being again, which presuppose that there will be at least in theory life after death. Still, enormous fear surrounds death. So instead of contemplating the less known factors such as rebirth, we will start from the best known, that is fear of death itself. When we understand or comprehend what is fear, we will not then be fearful of death anymore. As long as we live, we will live happily. That is why we reflect on death. Another cause of fear is pride in day-to-day life. We are so proud of who we are, or what we have achieved as a person, or family, or a nation, that we start behaving as though we are not going to die. That we will have to do whatever necessary to protect what we have achieved. On the other hand, knowing what we have to leave, any achievement and go at death, looks simply so horrifying. Pride is one of the many aspects of attachment and of not letting go. Due to pride, you can also expect tension and conflict even among brothers and sisters and between families. We follow our egoistic tendency by often saying, I want to do this, and no way will I compromise with that. This is pride. Very often, we argue over non-essential things in daily life. We do not want to listen to someone else's needs and concerns, because we think if we do so, that may be considered as weakness and hurt our pride. That always creates problem psychologically and then socially. Sometimes it's not about right and wrong that we keep arguing with each other, but rather about resistance from within, where we usually claim, this is my idea, this is my culture. So when you are too proud of your culture, you can never enjoy other culture. This is pride. Young people here in this retreat, like Tom, So, and Zomala, you have the opportunity to enjoy both culture, maybe even more than two. The best thing is to look at things from Buddhist perspective that nothing is perfect. So no one culture, either Asian or Western, is perfect. Neither is superior to the other. Both have advantages and disadvantages. When we look at life in this way, we gain more than we lose. Otherwise, if we are too proud of Asian culture, we will not be able to get anything from Western culture, and vice versa. You stand to lose out very much in that way. This kind of pride is what we are going to tackle through reflection on death. Lack of the right attitude is another ground for fear of death. In reality, death is very much part of life. Death has to be viewed in the context of life and life in the context of death. Everything has context, and we need to contextualize our outlook. For example, when we go to funerals, we see the death. If we do not view them in the context of life, we do not get the full picture. Looking at life alone can make us forgetful and arrogant, behaving as if we are never going to die. Focusing on death alone, on the other hand, can bring us disappointment, negative fears, and pessimism. Life and death are two sides of the same coin. It is so much relieving to note that death is common to all, no matter whether you are a billionaire or a pauper, a ruler or a ruled, a doctor or a patient, man or woman, a grown-up or a baby. Terrifying and painful experience of death is not unique to anyone, nor is it escapable. Contemplation of death is something that can make one a wise person and enables one to view life seriously. When Siddhartha Gautama was a prince, his father arranged everything so that he could not see old people, sick people, and dead bodies. This was because his father, having consulted with his astrologers, was told that his son, the prince, would one day leave home for a homeless life, and the king did not want his son to leave home, but wanted him to succeed him as a king when he died. So till the age of 29, the prince had never seen any of those things, such as death. But just to have seen a dead body, an old man, and a sick man once in his life, only once, that was enough for him to be convinced that this was a real problem facing him as well as the rest of the world, including those nearest and dearest to him, which is his family. That was something that made him determined to go through all the extraordinary experiences, renouncing the princely life, following the well-known religious teachings available in India at that time, and undergoing the hard life of an ascetic. Realizing that death arises at all times while we are still alive in the conventional sense is also very helpful to defeat fear of death. The old cells in the blood die and are being replaced continuously by new ones. It is said that the cells that die and are reborn momentarily are to be in their billions. The mind replaces itself in the same way, but in a much quicker speed. This is the